If you are looking for a trainer, or you've never flown an RC plane at all, and you clicked on this link because it said this is a great trainer, well, I'm going to go through every detail you can imagine about this plane. Setting it up, installing it, flying it. What batteries do you need? How do you charge those batteries? How to set up the transmitter? What needs to be done? Stick around. I'm going to get into a lot of details about this fantastic plane. Welcome to the shop. I have the Eflite Apprentice STS. This is an outstanding trainer. Large 1.5 meter wingspan, low cost 3S batteries, has safe for stability and self-leveling, AS3X modes, kind of a beginner mode, intermediate, and an expert mode, if you will. There are a handful of things that make this the best RTF trainer plane I've seen. There's also a couple things that you need to understand, though, and add to this. This is not a complete kit. Everything isn't ready to fly, per se, but I'm going to go into that in great detail in this video. A lot of information in this video. The flight video is really from a beginner's perspective, and I really want to highlight that this is all about a beginner pilot. And if you're looking for a first plane, if you've never flown RC before, in the link in the description below, I have a playlist. And in the playlist is a bunch of videos on how to fly, how to set up a plane, how to land, you know, what to expect on your first flight or your maiden flight, how to test things. Bunch of information is in there. So hopefully you might find that useful. Think you might. There's also, obviously, as I said, links in the description for the plane, for the chargers, for the transmitters, everything I talk about, as well as a lot of the tools I use in the shop. If you have any questions, leave a comment. More than happy to answer those questions. So now I'm going to get into all the details and the flight, which is very beginner-centric. Meaning I'm not doing aerobatics. I'm showing you how slow this plane will fly, how easy it is to land, get into those type of details. So stick around. Let's take a look at what's in the box. And I got to tell you, it made me laugh when I saw all these Velcro straps holding down the fuselage, holding down the radio, holding everything down. It was packed like it was, maybe you could launch it off a cargo plane. It was tough as heck. Obviously, everything inside you get, the manual is thick and there's good reading there. Nobody wants to read a manual. I highly recommend you take a look at that. You got some batteries. They're not great batteries, but you do get batteries for the transmitter. Like I said, everything is packaged exceptionally well to preserve the plane so it doesn't get all munged up, before you flight. Tape holding things down so they don't have any effect on other pieces and parts. It's really well packaged. Horizontal stabilizer is really thin. The foam on it is super light, but it has those carbon fiber basically slats on both sides there, and they're taped on. The decals are also taped on. Obviously it's a tape that it provides some structure, keeping things light. That's what I noticed about this plane, is they were doing everything they could to keep things light. Or the vertical stab is the same way, super lightweight. I was impressed with the engineering or the thought process around it. The fuselage, light as well. A lot of stuff going on in this fuselage, which I'll get into later. You've got switches, you've got some, just a whole lot of controllers, receivers, a bunch of stuff going on. I'll explain it a little bit later on, but everything has a purpose, and I'll go into that for sure. Landing gear, it's just simple wires, thin little foam tires. Again, lightweight. They really want this plane to be light because a lighter plane flies better. You get a bag with a couple parts. There's not a lot to this. Rubber bands, front nose wheel, a couple screws, and that's it. It seems like every RTF system out there has a crummy transmitter that really can't do much for you, and I complain about it. This one is the best RTF transmitter I've seen, and I'm going to go into a bunch of details about it and why I like it, and I think it is really a great option. So stick around for that. I'm going to install the nose wheel. Right now there's a screw, the place where the nose wheel should go. So with the Phillips screwdriver, you shove that in there and you're going to loosen the grub screw, which is holding on to that screw that's in there. So you can remove it. And there we go. We pop that out. And now we're going to insert the front nose wheel. There's a flat spot on that axle, and so that slides forward, or that is in the forward position. That's push it all the way down and then tighten the screw, and you're locked in. The mains are super easy. Slide it in, bend it a little bit, and it will click into place, and now you're good to go. The horizontal and vertical stabilizer basically just slide into place, and then they're screwed in from the bottom. So the first thing you're going to do is slide on the horizontal and then put the vertical on top. Those couple little holes that push all the way through. We're going to flip over the fuselage, and 2 self-tapping screws go in, and that's it. They're locked down. Wings, super simple. They basically slide together. One of them, if you saw the unboxing, it had a carbon fiber spar already in it. Make sure that the aileron cables aren't in the way. Slide the 2 halves together. And now you're going to have these 2 little plastic things that basically protect the wing from the rubber bands digging into the foam. And one has a trailing edge part of it, and it has self-stick tape. Peel the tape, slide it on, do the front and the back, and you're done. Installing the wing, it's old school. You basically are going to connect the servo leads. There's a left and a right. Make sure you have those correct, and make sure you have the orientation correct as far as orange to orange and so on and so forth. I make a little mark on mine, one that has 2 dots, one that has 1 dot, and I align the dots, and I'm good to go. After the wing is plugged in, place on top, and you're going to put 4 rubber bands. I only show 2, but you're going to put 4 rubber bands. And you might say, rubber bands, that's kind of silly. Rubber bands are flexible. Rubber bands move. So when you pile this plane in or cartwheel it, it doesn't damage the wing because it's going to move around a little bit. Kind of a smart move, old school. We're going to power this up. Let me show you what the battery compartment is like. And I got to be honest, I'm not overly thrilled with the battery compartment. It has these Velcro straps, which really don't work very well. It's just, to me, it is, I wish they would have done so many great things about this plane, and yet the battery compartment, I'm not really thrilled with. The problem is this little plastic piece here, if you try to put Velcro on this, it's raised, and there's nowhere for the actual adhesive to grip onto, so it doesn't really hold very well. So 2 things that I have found out, so if I'm going to use, I got this with the plane of 4000s. I think it's way too heavy, but just to show you some of the things I'm doing when I'm putting this together. So I have the transmitter on, and over here on the side switch, there's a switch over here, right here, off. That needs to be in the off position. So I'm going to go over here, I'm going to plug it in. You're going to hear a tone from the ESC, but the controls and things aren't working. When I push this in, and I have a thin piece of foam, this is what I've done to kind of make it so it doesn't go anywhere. That battery's not going anywhere anyway. There's not a lot of room for it to move around. Then I flip the plane over. Don't need that anymore. And make sure throttle cut is on. This is the throttle cut. Throttle is all the way down just to be safe. And flip the switch to on. Flip the switch to on. Set it down and leave it. It is going to basically go through a process where the controller is booting up. All the rudder's going back and forth. All the control surfaces have moved. And now it's ready to go. You'll notice, and it makes a little racket. A little whine from the servos. It's okay. You'll notice that on the front here, it's got a green light, which means this is safe mode. When I flip this switch, now it's blue, intermediate mode, and red is Basically, it's just AS3X. There is no stability at all. I want to clarify. I keep saying there's no stability. There's AS3X, so there's wind mitigation. And the documentation has really good details about these features. Other than the natural stability of the dihedral and the wing, the plane itself. A couple things that are interesting that you need to note. So you can see, I'm hoping, looking here, you can see the tail section and the ailerons. When I flip into safe mode, which is all the way forward, and the little green dot right here, when I move the aileron, watch what's happening to the rudder. It's mixing in rudder for the aileron movement and elevator. So it is naturally helping you turn smooth and giving you some elevator. When I move it into intermediate mode, it does the same thing. This switch right here handles rates, meaning the amount of deflection the control surfaces have. I am in AS3X mode. There's no stability on it. So watch back there on the elevator. When I flip the switch, you'll notice there's a difference. This is higher, this is lower. High rate, low rate, okay? When you go into intermediate mode, we'll do the same test. Pull all the way back. It doesn't change. So the rates only changes the rates when you were in AS3X mode, which is all the way forward. Once you get more advanced, then you're gonna be flipping this thing in AS3X mode and doing a lot more from an aerobatic perspective if you wanna do that. So anyway, kind of an update on the controller. And again, throttle cut works great. This right here is panic mode. You push that button and whatever orientation you're in, it's gonna straighten you out, okay? All right, oh, by the way, those little dots right there tell you how much battery you have in the plane. It's giving you telemetry, which is an amazing thing to be able to look down and see how much battery you have left. Very nice feature, but as I said, even flying down at 2200, you're gonna fly for 7 minutes or so. So anyway, just some details about the radio. And then we'll just flip the switch to off, and she's safe. As much as I like this transmitter for an RTF plane, a low-cost entry way to get into it, this does a lot of great features. I mean, this thing is very capable. You can do range check, it gives you telemetry, it gives you a lot of great stuff. This is by far the best RTF transmitter out there, bar none. However, once you start flying a lot and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna get some more planes and I really like this hobby, you really should invest in a higher quality transmitter. Everything about this transmitter is way above that DXS that comes with it, the RTF. The gimbals, the switches, the settings, has audible,
motor on.
Has some nice features there. You can also program things. So we were talking about rates a while ago. I can easily go in and program rates for ailerons, rudder, elevator, and so on. Setting up flaps, things like that. This is a really great setup for that. The timer talks to you, tells you how much time you have. You could actually set up a button.
Flight pack, no data.
I don't obviously have a plane turned on, but it just said flight pack, no data. It normally would say flight pack and give you how many volts are in it. Pretty cool stuff. Anyway, making an investment, several $100s on a nice transmitter is definitely what you're going to want to do if you get into this hobby deeply, which many of us have. Anyway, just thought that was important to talk about. You are going to need a battery and a charger for this plane. So one of the things that Spectrum has is this system. It comes with a charger and a 4,000 milliamp battery. So you got your battery, the smart charger setup with the EC3, or I'm sorry, IC3, which basically doesn't have a balance lead. So, this is a system where when you buy into the smart technology, there's a lot of benefits there, but it is a proprietary system, meaning you need to have a smart charger. This is a USB charger, and it works, but it's slow. You're going to connect this basically to a 5-volt, 2 something amp, USB port. This plugs in to there, and that's it. Little light's going to come on and tell you when the charging is complete. It's going to take a while. It could take an hour or so for that to charge up. But that's an option for you if you go this route, and it's a good option. Let me show you another option. All right, another option for you is this. It is a dedicated smart charger. It is the Spectrum S250. What this allows you to do is charge 2 batteries like this at a much higher amp charge. So it's going to charge faster. You're going to charge these in, let's say, 20 minutes versus hours. And you can charge 2 at a time. It has those connections there or the larger ones. So you have IC3 and IC5. IC5 is there, IC3 is there. So this will only do 4S, up to 4S batteries. So 3S, 4S, which frankly are the most common batteries. If you're flying 6S, you're going to need to upgrade to a larger system. Here's the neat thing about this. Most charging systems make you dial in the amps, start it, monitor it, kind of thing. There's this, you have to pay attention to what's going on. Not saying here you don't, but here, all you do literally is plug it in. And the battery started charging. I haven't hit anything. I haven't done anything. It just starts charging. And it's charging at the proper rate for each one of those batteries. It knows that this is a 4000 and it's charging at the right rate. So very impressive setup as far as how the system works, the safety around it. It is above and beyond how simple that these, that Spectrum has made this whole charging system. It's fantastic. So there we go. As far as your 2 charging options, obviously I like this one. It's significantly more expensive, but it actually gets you up in the air and flying. So spending, $100, extra $100 or so, gives you something that's actually very, very usable. That's my take on that. Got this set up on intermediate mode, and I have a lightweight 2200 in this. Prior I was flying with a 4000, and now I'm going lightweight with a little 2200 3S. CG is a little further back. What I'm trying to get to is a point where the plane will land easily, have enough authority, and the CG is right, so the nose can be lifted up as you're landing to as not smash that front nose wheel. When you lighten a plane, it flies better. There's just no 2 words about it. For a beginner, the best thing you can do is get your plane light. You're tempted to get a large battery in there so you could fly a long time, but I will tell you, flying with a lighter battery is a lot more enjoyable, and the plane just flies and performs so much better. So you only get a 5-minute flight time instead of a 20. I think that'll be okay. So here, I can already tell that the plane just flies incredibly light now. The wing load on it's ridiculous with that little 2200 up there. We'll keep monitoring the battery performance. I'm going to do an approach. See if I'm going to chop throttle completely right here. We're just gliding in. And I can get that nose up. Look at that. That is what you want. With a larger battery, it wasn't letting me get that nose up like that. That's what you want for your trainer, is a plane that you have enough authority to get the nose up. Otherwise, you smash the nose and your plane bounces and you damage the nose wheel. And then you're fixing a plane more than flying it. Now, I am dead sticking this all the way in. Here it comes. I'm gonna start feeding some up elevator. I have full up. By the time I was about a foot over the ground there, trying to slow her down, I had full up elevator. Really impressed with this performance of this plane. This is an outstanding beginner plane, and the ready to fly version of this with a transmitter, I'm flying it now, and it's a really good combination. I'm very impressed with it. But if you want to really be able to get that nose up, you have to have some throttle. You just gotta have to. You gotta have a little bit more speed. That is awesome. And this is all in intermediate mode. I'm still limited to how much I can bank. This is a perfect setup for if you're learning to fly. Won't get you in as much trouble. And if you don't know what to do and you panic and you're going backwards and weird, let go of the sticks, give some throttle. And it levels itself and climbs out. Let me show you. We'll come up here high and up. I'm confused. I don't know what I'm doing. I let go, give some throttle, and she self-levels. So really a great system for the new pilot. Very, very happy with it. I want to be clear that in intermediate mode that I'm in, it does not have safe. The self-level that I'm talking about is really the plane's dihedral and just stability. It wants to level itself. Very impressive. If you really, have an issue, hit the panic button. Taking a peek at my transmitter, which gives me telemetry, and I still have a lot of battery left. On a little 2200. I've been flying quite a while. Actually, this entire flight is almost 8 minutes long on a 2200. Feeding in elevator. Very pleased. All right, let's bring her in for landing. Final landing. Got a little throttle coming through this turn, backing off throttle. Got just a hint of throttle. Get that nose up. And down as easy as can be. Super duper plane. Let's go back to the shop and I'll summarize. Welcome back. I got to tell you, this is for me, in my experience, and I've tested a lot, an awful lot of trainers, this is the best ready-to-fly kit that I've dealt with. And a lot of it has to do with the transmitter, the gyro, just everything that goes into this plane for making a purpose-built, lightweight plane. Super easy to assemble. A couple screws in the back, that's it. Rubber bands on top. That's it. You know, the landing gear goes together super fast as well. Configuration out of the box. Really the only thing I did was I added more elevator by just moving the clevis down into the second hole. That was the only change I made. The 2200 batteries I thought were ideal. I know everybody loves to throw the biggest battery they can into these planes. And I implore you to go light. A lighter plane is easier to fly, easier to land, less disaster, less cost. So many things, so many reasons to have a lighter plane. And that sometimes means a slightly smaller battery. The battery compartment, as I made comments, I'm not thrilled with the way it's set up. With that little piece of foam I put in there, kind of wedges things together, and it works great. Yeah, I had no issue with it. The flight performance, because ultimately that's what this is about. How well does it fly? As you saw, it can fly very, very slow. The gyro assist, I was flying it primarily on intermediate mode, which limits the amount of bank and the amount of trouble you can get into. That didn't have the self-level mode, but as you saw, I let off basically the sticks, and the plane rights itself just because the dihedral, the stability of the plane, it is a great flying plane from that perspective of a new pilot. Landing. If you are trying to land this in safe with a heavy battery, you're going to bounce that nose wheel almost every time. And so if you have this plane and you're having trouble with hitting that nose wheel and bouncing a lot, it's because your CG is way too far forward. Using the smaller battery and giving a little more elevator will allow you to get up and land on those mains, like you saw in the video. I did that time and time and time again. This plane is purpose-built for that kind of thing. The other thing I really like about the plane is how if you break a tail section, you can just buy the new parts. They're light, they're simple, they assemble together. Bust up a wing, not a problem. You know, you can get new wings very easily, and because it's rubber banded on, you're not ripping apart the fuselage. Really well designed. Anyway, I could talk about this plane quite a bit, but you know, I don't want to make a 45-minute video. Anyway, so a couple things you're going to need, as I highlighted: batteries and a charger. And I really like the 2200s. The charger that I showed, the Spectrum S250, excellent solution. There's a lot of battery chargers out there. You'll make that decision. I've got a whole playlist on batteries and chargers also. I'll put that in the description below too. Then the other thing is, as you get more familiar with flying and you like it, get a better radio. That's a good radio, don't get me wrong. It's a good radio for this plane, but once you get more planes, you're going to want to get a programmable radio. And I do think that the Spectrum system is by far the best. Anyway, if you have any questions, leave a comment. Links in the description below for all the stuff, all the playlists I talk about. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.